What is going on, everybody? I'm back with another video, and today will be a follow-up video on the Boker Plus Exskelibur. This is a Mike Sklearn design. A pretty much of joy to carry around. So these are my thoughts, what I hate about the knife, what I love about the knife, and then my overall user experience. So just to recap, we have about a 3.6-inch VG10 blade. We have two G10 handle scales, only one liner, which is just the locking side, and a back spacer with the ever so bit of pop of color here. And we have just a non-reversible pocket clip on the back. All right, so let's get into it. So first off, I have to say that for a knife this size, it is quite large for my preference of EDC carry, but it is just damn light. The knife just does not feel like there's anything to it. Very, very nice. I really love that a lot. It's nice and thin, and nice thin stock here. Slicing ability on this is incredible. It came razor sharp from the factory, although I have dulled it down here, so it's no longer really that sharp anymore. But I have to say it was sharp from the factory. So slicing ability is really nice. Full flat ground, very high full flat ground, so you don't have much of a flat here. So slicing through cardboard, food prep, this knife pretty much does it all. I even did a little bit of rope, so went through it all like a champ. So no worries there. Again, carryability is extremely nice because while it is a large knife, you really don't feel it in your pockets. And the front flipper, while it took a little bit, actually I call it a flipper, but you can't really flip the knife unless you loosen the pivot, which is something I don't want to do. But it is kind of you can use your thumb, you can use your forefinger. So once you kind of get used to it, you kind of forget that you don't really need thumb studs here. You could just pinch the blade like that and just open it if you wanted to. But either way, very nice and smooth, a joy to deploy, and I really like that a lot. And I will be comparing this to the Sebenza 21 later, only because it has that kind of hydraulic feeling, deployment. So, and the other thing I like too as well is that while the knife is rather thin, there's a bit of a cutout here for where your finger needs to go to disengage the lock. Now the lock bar is hard cut. There's no chamfering on this, but it basically is to your advantage only because your finger can get in and it will catch on the hard edge of the locking bar and you can just disengage the lock. So no need for jimping. It serves to make the knife a lot cleaner. So there's only one bit of jimping, which is just on top of the blade spine. It is hard cut, so your fingers will catch on here. I will have to say it is set back a little bit too much. It kind of makes me want to hold the knife like here. But you can't, once you get up a little bit more, it's kind of hard to get to that jimping, which is way back here. But otherwise, very nice. Okay, so I'm going to address a few issues here. So as you guys may know, and I'm sure some of you guys are like, oh no, not another Boker Plus video. I've had kind of bad experiences with Boker Plus. It goes from my SD3 to my Boker Plus A squared, and now even unfortunately to the Exskelibur. Now I can't say that every single Boker Plus I've owned is bad. I mean, the Boker Federal here is quite a nice, well put together knife. And the Boker Kairkau, which I have another video on, that was a very well put together knife as well. But most of the time, my Boker Plus experiences have been less than stellar. While I have the Federal out, you can kind of see the blade stock here. It is a very thin blade, and it is very nice for slicing EDC use, where the Boker Federal, while it is nice, you can't really slice through too much only because the blade is so thick. So I'll bring that back in a little bit. So I will address the very first problem. So the very first problem, which is a minor one in my book, is the pocket clip. The pocket clip I actually had to bend out a tiny bit, but it is very stiff and rigid, and it's very hard to get this into your pants pocket. You notice how there's not much of a lip here. So if you have anything thicker, like thick jeans, whatnot, you're going to have a little bit of challenge getting it clipped in here. And let's see here. If you can get it clipped in here, there's not much space in here for anything else really. So just be aware of that. And of course the pocket clip is non-reversible, so you're kind of stuck with the right hand carry. So sorry to all you lefties there. The knife is very easy to take down, however, so I did take it down, clean it, and put it back together. The knife did not come, I don't remember, I don't think it came centered, and it's still not centered right now. Now, blade play, there is no blade play. However, it does have lock slip, which is a huge no-no if you're into knives, especially something that doesn't have a flipper, nothing to protect your fingers. So if you are to cut and you accidentally push down like that, you're going to cut yourself. And I did. I cut myself right through here because I was playing around with it, checking out lock slip, and it actually did slip and cut me right on my finger. So this is a huge no-no. Now, if I was to lock it up really solid like that, give it a little bit of force, it doesn't slip as readily, so there is enough force there. Again, still no blade play left, right, up, or down. But if you're to just, like for example, just open it like normal, like this, it will slip. So again, bad on Boker Plus. What can I say? Otherwise, everything else about the knife I really like. The size is a little too big now. Kind of wish they had a kind of a middle size, because they only have this 3.6-inch blade, and they have another one that's under 3 inches, which I think is a little bit too small for my taste. If they had a 3.25-inch blade version, oh, I would totally get it. But I don't know if I want to mess with this BS right here where the bar is slipping. So, well, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of size comparisons. Why not? So, as you saw before, I do have the Boker Plus Federal. And in fact, I'm going to bring in the Quaken, which I again will sometime do a follow-up video on, because I have used it. So, and then finally, I'll grab another Boker Plus, and this is the A Square, the venerable A Square, which had terrible QC, but I've kind of rectified some of it. As you can see, it's very close. These three are very close in blade length, about 3.6 all the way down. The Boker Plus Federal is the only one that I believe that has a true 3.5-inch blade, and you can see it's a little bit shorter, overall. Now, in terms of blade thickness, I think it's going to be the closest to the Quaken. Maybe the Quaken's ever so slightly thicker, but otherwise pretty close to the Quaken. The Federal, as you saw, is very thick, and the A Square is actually tremendously thick. The A2 is also flat ground. I believe the Quaken is a slight hollow ground, and this is a full flat. So let me go get these off the table. So as I've mentioned before, I did compare it to the Sebenza. So I'm going to bring out the Sebenza 21. I'll place it right next to it, and you'll see it's about the same blade length. Very comparable if you like this kind of a size of a knife. And you'll see the blade thickness is somewhat about the same. I do feel that the Sebenza 21 is a slightly, better to cut with, only because of the hollow ground here, so it provides a slightly thinner cutting edge. Otherwise, thickness is about the same. And yes, it does have that almost that Sebenza quality to it, where it's just, you don't flick it out. You just kind of, just enjoy the hydraulic feeling of the deployment of the knife, and that's very Sebenza-like right there. Now, quality-wise, it's nowhere near a Sebenza, but feeling-wise, it's pretty darn close. And also, it depends on how you adjust the pivot too, because I think when it first got to me, I had to readjust the pivot, especially after I took it apart, cleaned it out. There was some grit in there, and got this to feel a lot better. But it's almost like a slip joint. Anyways, let's put this down again. Bring in the Fox Knife Terzola. This is a very awesome knife. I really love it a lot. I'll be following up with that one probably some other time. Now, the Fox Knife Terzola is supposed to have slightly less than or maybe around a 3.5, maybe slightly less than 3.5-inch blade, but the Exskelibur is obviously slightly larger. But again, this thing also has that kind of smooth opening. You're not really going to flick this out. You don't really have to. But this overall is a slightly better feeling knife. The Terzola is. So I would probably pick the Fox knives over the Exskelibur. The only thing about the Fox knives is that it is a darn sight thicker. It is kind of shorter in terms of height, but there is no pocket clip, so you will either have to carry this in your pockets or use the supplied pouch with it. But in terms of EDC, I would prefer the Fox knives over the Excalibur. But in terms of weight, the Excalibur is pretty much kicking every other knife that I put on the table so far right in the ass. It is a very light knife, very easy to carry. So let's bring in a classic knife, one that's been discontinued. This is the Spyderco Tonto. And also I'll bring in my own self-designed collaboration with Marty Young. This is the DCMY, and we'll put these on the table. The reason I brought these two out again is because of the size, and also because they have the same kind of a feeling of deployment. You know, you can't flick these out. I guess you could, but you know, you're not really supposed to. But these all have this nice, you know, hydraulic feeling to it. You can see a thickness, very comparable to the Spyderco. Of course, obviously different blade shape. Size is about the same. Grab the DCMY, and a little bit thicker, I think, for the Marty Young. A damn sight heavier. Different blade geometry, obviously, but again, just that nice, smooth, hydraulic feeling quality to it. So essentially, out of all the knives I brought out, and the Spyderco would be the lightest knife out of all of these. So this would be probably the best comparison right here for what I have on the table. Let me get this out of the way. The Spyderco Lum Tonto is just a very lightweight knife, despite having full liners. It is heavier than the Excalibur, but it is the lightest, the second lightest out of everything I showed you on the table, and it's about the same size. Now, the quality on the Spyderco obviously is a lot higher than the Boker Plus, but in the end, it's really what you guys need and what you guys want out of a daily carry knife. It is a very lightweight, easy to carry knife. The Excalibur is. So, all right. So to sum up, the Excalibur is a very decent knife. I do wish I got the smaller one, the one that's under 3 inches long. I may just put up with it, you know what I mean? It is just going to be a small knife. This is way more comfortable, I would assume, to carry and hold and handle and cut with. I love the thin knife, so the slicing ability is really, really good. It's easy to sharpen, full flat ground, came razor sharp from the factory. Obviously, QC issues again with Boker Plus. This being the huge no-no here, the lock slip. So essentially, it is like a slip joint now. If you don't lock it up with a lot of force, because it looks like it locks, but it just doesn't lock. But you lock it up with a little bit of force, and it doesn't fold on you. So save your fingers. You know, test out the knife if you do get one of these. Hopefully there's a brick and mortar store you can go to and check out you know, check out the lock slip on these things. I don't know if every single one of these is like this, but the copy I got has lock slip. But otherwise, love the weight of it. Easy to carry. It disappears in your pocket. You know, size is large, but however, you will never feel it. Pocket clip is a little bit hard to clip onto your pockets, but that's kind of a minor complaint. So you guys make the decision, you know, whatever you guys want to put in your pockets. But these are my experiences with the Boker Plus Exskelibur. So if you got any questions or comments, please leave it below. Aside from that, take care, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.